That's helpful.
Hi, I'm Kristin Clark, and welcome to College Planning Untangled. We offer real advice for parents of real kids. And I'm here today with Bobby Hood, the guru of test prep. And we work together to help demystify the college planning process. So if you're a parent of a high school student or a college student, this is for you.
Well, welcome. Great. So thanks, Kristen. I think you can, people may be able to see my cat running around in the background of our video, so ignore him. So welcome, everyone. Yeah, so my name is Bobby Hood. I tutor students online all over the country for SAT, ACT, as well as college programs like graduate programs like LSAT, MCAT, GMAT, and GRE. And what we're here to do together is help parents and students understand the college admissions process. Absolutely, and all of the facets that relate to preparing for it. And so in our first episode, we talked a little bit about what I do. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what Kristen does. And so although I do know some things about what Kristen does, I'm going to sort of pretend like I don't know anything so that Kristen can tell us a little bit about it. And so, what I understand, Kristen, is that you help students sort of when they're in high school understand more about themselves and what they might want to, what their strengths might be and what their weaknesses are. And all I remember is that when I was in college and when I left high school, I knew I liked a lot of things. And so I went into college, and I know I changed major 3 times. And I know that I am in my 3rd or 4th career, depending on how you count it. It took me until I was almost 40 years old to realize that tutoring is what I truly love to do and is my passion in life. So I sure wish that I had someone help me, out earlier. And so tell me, what it is that you do and how you can help students.
Absolutely. Bobby, it's funny. I hear this all the time. People say, Kristen, I'm 50 years old and I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up, right?
My gosh, yes.
Yeah, and it does. It happens all the time. And I feel people's pain because I was in that same boat. And what I've found with working with the students is they absolutely have some ideas of what they'd like to do. I think a lot of times it's that they don't have the platform or a neutral ear to say it out loud and see how it feels like coming out of their body.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I found is when I've talked to parents as a tutor, one thing they've said to me a lot is that if a parent suggests something to a student, the student immediately tells their parent that that's a dumb idea. But then if I suggest it, then I'm a neutral third party, and they say, oh, Mr. Hood said that I should think about this. And their parent is like, yeah, I've told you that 50 times and you told me it was dumb. So maybe that is something that just a neutral third party can be a great help. Yeah, for sure.
It's a huge help. And I was laughing at you when you said they thought it was a stupid idea, because I tell parents all the time, I'm like, you realize at this age, we're stupid. They think that
Right.
We are so dumb.
Yeah. Just automatically.
And the beauty of this is we get smarter as they get older. So that's awesome. But during this phase, it is like that. And I've actually seen it go both ways. I've seen parents make a suggestion and the kid goes, it's the dumbest idea ever. Or I've seen where the parents make a suggestion and the student just goes, oh, okay, I guess that's what I should be doing.
Oh,
so
yeah. I think I did that. I mean, I was an attorney for 10 years, and it's not exactly that my parents suggested it, but, my father said just offhand while I was in college, I started out as a physics major for 1 semester. I didn't enjoy that purely because I didn't like one class. And then I switched to be an English major, and my father made an offhand comment, and he said, and this is a great point that he made. He said, it'd be a good idea to take an accounting class just because it'd be good to know accounting. So I took an accounting class and I liked it, and I switched my major to accounting. And my father didn't say, go switch your major to accounting. I just went and did that. But, just a single comment like that from my father then made me go and do that. And then I ended up, after being an accountant for 2 years, going and deciding to go to law school because my father was an attorney, he never told me to do that. But again, just little things from your parents can lead you to go off and do things without being introspective and thinking about what you actually want to do. And I think it really could be valuable for students to have someone help them explore what they really want to do, or what their strengths might be.
And what you said is exactly what I provide. It's that opportunity for them to stop, take a breath, and think about, what do I really want? What do I like to do? What are my passions? I love that you said, you took a class and you went, oh, I don't like that. And I think what you did right there is you thought about it and you made a change. Definitely, again, we need to take a breath, pause, think about it. But I tell my students all the time, fail hard, fail fast, fail often, because, if you don't like something, you tried it, get out. And, and go a different path. Yeah. And don't be afraid of that either.
But the thing, at least for me, and I mean, now we're just sort of talking about me, but this is, I think, leading us into what the things that you do, right? But what was the mistake? And I mean, the thing is, I don't have regrets exactly, but when I look back, I see mistakes that I did make and ways my life would have been different. I don't exactly regret it. But when I was 12 years old, I loved computer programming, and the computers were brand new sort of then, and I was programming little basic computer games and stuff when I was 12. I loved that stuff. And then I didn't go take a computer class, and I didn't major in computer programming, which I should have done. And I don't know why I didn't. I literally don't understand why I didn't do that. And I think it's because I thought, oh, that's a thing I think is fun. And so I didn't think thing I think is fun was the same thing as thing you major in. And now I know that, of course, thing you think is fun should be the thing you major in. And I have a friend who literally 2 weeks ago just graduated after having gotten a pre-med undergraduate degree in biology, gone to medical school. He got to second year in medical school at University of Texas Southwestern, one of the greatest medical schools in the country. He was ready to become a doctor, graduating from one of the greatest medical schools in the country, but he hated it. He dropped out. He went to a community college and got a certificate, undergraduate certificate in computer game design. He went and got a master's degree in computer game design. He graduated 3 weeks ago with his master's of computer game design, and he has for 6 months been working at a computer game design company, and has now, with a team, designed a game, been part of a team designing a big, great game.
And he's loving it, right?
And he is the happiest he's ever been. And he was so miserable before. He hated being a doctor. He loves computer game design. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, and you can do that, right? So anyway, these are the stories.
You brought up so many topics that I want to cover during that conversation.
So let's go.
So one is, you absolutely can do something that you love.
Yeah.
You absolutely can. And here's the challenge that parents have. We don't know what kind of jobs are going to be out there in 10 years, in 20 years. We don't know. These kids are going to retire in 2060 to 2070. Can you even imagine?
Wow.
I used email. I used email for the first. Oh, right. Yeah. I used email for the very first time 20 years ago. And think about how fast things have changed since then. Yeah. Now, fast forward, we don't know what kind of jobs are going to be out there. So that's one of the first lessons is, what do you love to do? Yeah. And most teenage boys love gaming. Okay. That comes up all the time. And there are so many jobs in the gaming industry. It is nuts. And the video production and all of those things that they love to do. In fact, I've got, one of the things that I take my students through is the CliftonStrengths assessment, and it helps them understand their natural talents. And it's been interesting because, number one, everybody that's taken this loves it. They've every time they show me the report and they're like, Kristen, how do these people know me so well? And
Yeah.
Yeah. And, Clifton Strengths has been around for over 50 years. It's through the
Hmm.
Gallup organization, which is a world-renowned
Oh, sure.
research firm. Yeah, this thing's been vetted and revetted
Hmm.
millions of times. So it's a great assessment. But what I love about it is it explains to you how you view the world. And when you're using your strengths, it's all strengths-based. And when you're using your strengths, it actually energizes you and makes you happy. So
Yeah.
when you were talking about coaching, number one, I can't wait to dig into your strengths, which we'll do
Hmm.
sometime on this show,
Oh, yeah.
so that people can get an idea of what this feels like. But it's you're definitely more than likely. Well, I shouldn't say definitely. You're more than likely using your strengths
Yeah.
more
Sure.
doing this job than you ever have, and that's probably why
Oh,
you
for
love it.
sure. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So that's what makes it exciting, and that's how I bridge that gap with what do you love to do and what are you good at. Okay,
Yeah.
what are you naturally talented at? Um, when you were talking about gaming, I actually had a student I was working with. He had graduated from college, and one of the things that he had studied was how to model characters within a
Hmm.
game. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. The challenge was he wasn't very good at it.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so he was good at it, he just wasn't fast at it. And one of the things that we talked about during our strengths conversation was this. One of the things that he's really good at is a theme called deliberative. And what that means is he's really good at going in and finding the risk or what's going to go wrong with anything he looks at and touches. It's just natural to him, and he's
Yeah.
going to do that every time. So, what was happening is when he was building these models, he kept finding the things that were wrong, and it took him too long to finish it.
Yeah.
Okay. The one of the other strengths that he had is he was high in restorative, which is a strength that is all about finding problems. But the catalyst to that is it's not about finding the problems, it's about wanting to fix them.
Hmm.
So he had these two things working together. And we can see why modeling characters then 80%
Right.
wasn't good enough for him, right? It
Yeah. Yeah.
was, I've got to have it
See,
100%.
he's going to be a perfectionist, and he needs to work in QA and problem catching. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
exactly the path we went down. So
That's
we
awesome.
were trying to get him hooked up with gaming companies to do
Hmm.
Q&A testing. So number one,
Yep.
he could be in there playing games all day long
Yep.
and looking for all the glitches in the program.
Yeah, it's
And
yeah, like Blizzard in Austin. I was just talking to my friend, the gaming person, and I was like, "Hey, why don't you get a job in Austin?" And he said, "Oh, well, Blizzard, like their entire Austin thing is only QA. It's only game testing." And he's like, "That's not my thing. I'm not a game tester. I have to be a coder designer." So he's like, "I can't do that because that would be all QA, and that's not my strength." So he knows his. Yeah, that's interesting.
mhm,
Yeah, so funny.
yeah.
So yeah, maybe he can work in Austin. So perfect.
Right. And you can see too, just in this discussion, number one, we're hugely animated because we both love this stuff.
Right.
But the second part is why understanding why that student would be so much happier making this slight adjustment and
Hmm. Oh my gosh.
how strengths can play into that and help you determine what you really are truly going to be good at and like.
Right. So when I was in high school, I mean, I remember, the only time that I ever got exposed to anything like this is like that one day in high school when they, handed out the career test thing, and everybody was like, well, this says I should be a forest ranger, and this says I should be a journalist, and this, and mine says I should be a teacher. And the thing is, we were all laughing about it, but like that that person who it said should be a forest ranger, like, lives on a ranch now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the person who it said should be a journalist is a journalist now, and I'm a teacher now, even after all of that. My false starts being an attorney, and being a CPA, and trying to own a restaurant, we did end up in those things, but that's the only exposure I ever had, was that one little test, right? And so
Hmm.
it sounds like what you're talking about is, first thing, this thing isn't just that little career test thing. This is a strengths assessment that's more of a cognitive sort of assessment, that is, how does your brain work and how do you view the world? But then also you helping a student figure out, like, not just like what type of career would you be in, but what would you be doing on a day-to-day basis? What would you be doing in that career? Because like you just said with games, like, and I've talked so much to my friend who's doing it now, there are 100 roles in that
Hmm.
field, right? And you need to know what you're going to be doing in that field. So it's not just, I want to go into this career. That's not the point, right? if that makes sense. That's
Oh,
what I'm hearing from you.
it makes exact sense, and that's exactly what
That's
I
neat.
do with the students. Yeah, and it goes back to a couple things that we've talked about, giving the student that open door to
Mhm.
say, just what sounds fun,
Yeah,
and getting them
right.
okay and talking about that, talking to a neutral party. I'll tell you, the schools are doing fairly well these days with the different types of assessments that they have. I think
Mhm.
that where I bridge some gaps there is that they don't have the time to go in depth like I do with the students. So your career counselor, I know at the schools that my kids went to, they had 300-400 kids per
Yeah,
counselor, you
right.
know, and for the students that know exactly what they want to do, which isn't a lot, you've
Yeah,
got about a
right.
10% range there that know exactly what they want to do, and they've known that since they were 3. They thank God those people are out there, and I wish I was one of them, that knew that at a young age, but there aren't many kids that know. They just don't have the time that they can sit down and really get in depth with these kids. And the kids, when they're walking
Yeah.
into the counselors, don't truly know what to ask. They don't know how to approach this.
Right, in the 5 minutes that you get to talk to this counselor once every
Hmm.
6 months, right? Okay, and
Yeah.
so this brings me to something that okay, and I'm just thinking through this right now. But so, okay, I so, in my side of the world, right, as a tutor, one benefit that I have is that, like, this is tutoring has been around for a long time, and parents
Hmm.
know that you need a test score, and this industry exists, and they know that this is something they need to pay for, and it costs money, and so it's kind of built in. Everybody knows they need to do it, and because I do it efficiently and whatever, so people will work with me and do that, and I get the results. And so what one thing I have realized is that I may get the students that score and they get into college, but if they don't know what they could do the same thing I did and flail around and go into a bunch of different majors, right? They need, I mean, yeah, I have a few students like you mentioned that kind of know what they want to do. They've already figured it out, right? Oh, thank you, Madeline. That's very nice. I appreciate your comment. That's wonderful. It's great, and those of you who are watching, we really appreciate comments in the chat. That's great. So I have these students who's a few students who do know what they're doing, right? But the others, I don't want them to flail around like they do. But so what you're doing, Kristen, is it seems like first thing that this is, I mean, a fairly new kind of industry, right? And so parents may not know that this is like something else that is hugely valuable, right? And I would, if I were a parent, kind of be like, okay, this is just as important and valuable as the tutoring, right? But also, like, I don't know what this is because like, I have not had a student go through it. I don't know how, it works. This is something like with college admissions. It's something that you could spend $20,000 on, or you could spend $10,000 on, or you could spend what? I don't know, right? So, like, how does this work? Is this a one-on-one thing? Is this a group thing? How can parents like do this, and how does it actually work with you? Let's get into the details because I know people are listening and like wanting to like figure out how they can work with you and how this would work.
Sure. The first thing I want to address is, your business and my business is the same in that it's all about saving parents money,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Right.
So for you, it's getting better test scores so that we can get better scholarships and
Yep.
actually get into a school. For me, it's when they get into school, instead of taking 6 years to get through a 4-year degree, which 67% of the kids are taking 6 years to get their 4-year degree.
Or finding out
Um,
they want a major that's not available at their college and having to transfer.
oh, that
Oh my
too.
gosh.
That's
Yeah.
big. That's
Yeah.
big. So you have that happening. And with doing this, what we're trying to do is reduce the number of times they change their major so
Right.
they can actually get a 4-year degree in 4 years. So do the math on
Yeah.
that, Bobby. You're
I know.
talking now on the low end,
Yeah.
25 grand a year.
Oh
So
yeah.
by doing this, we can save almost
Yeah.
$50,000.
Even just saving extra credit hours from switching majors. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And, time is always a concern too that they're taking, the extra 2 years. Let's face it, college is fun. So,
Right. I
I
know.
mean,
Yeah.
to
Students will engineer it to stay as long as they can sometimes.
that can happen too. But the second part of this is that the students going And when they have clarity and confidence that they're doing the right thing is golden, because they're not out there looking at everybody else on social media and saying, oh my gosh, they know what they're doing. They have their act together. And I'm sitting here. I'm the only one that doesn't know what I'm doing. And we all know that's not true either, right? That social media, all the good and fun stuff's on there, not any of the hard stuff. But what it does is it does give them that confidence to say, either I know what road I need to go down, or I know how to navigate that because I've learned this formula that I've put together to help them go through this. So let's say a student got into college, we had worked out a plan, and they got into several different classes and went, ooh, I thought this would be the right thing, but there are a couple game changers in here.
Sure.
They're not going to feel like they failed. They're going to go, oh, okay, it's time to shift, which we talk about during my course as well. It's just time to shift. And like I said, fail hard, fail fast, fail often. Don't fail to fail. Just make it happen. Right?
I love that. I had not. Yeah. You said that earlier, and now it's sinking in, and I'm going to I need to use that in tutoring as well. That's like, go make the mistakes. Like, students come in and they say, I did really bad on my next, I did another practice section. I did really bad. And I said, great. That gives us lots of questions to look at. If you didn't miss any questions, then that doesn't give us anything to go over, right? We need to miss things, right?
Yeah. Right. So, and then the second question you asked me is this: how do parents contact me, work with me? What does that look like? I have two different types of ways that I work with the students. I work one-on-one, mostly with the students. And that is a 5-part course that I take them through over a 12-week time period.
Okay.
A couple questions I get on that is, whoa, 12 weeks, Kristen, they're in high school, right? But this is a big decision. And when we're talking about really digging in and looking introspectively to someone that really probably hasn't done much of that, sometimes it just takes that long. We get through the meat of it, though, and have them heading down a path really in 3 sessions.
Yeah, well, you can't be introspective in 2 weeks.
No, you just can't.
Like, hey, let's dig into all the things that motivate you and really, I mean, part of it is, I imagine, is saying, okay, take a week, think about what this means to you and what the things are that you really value. What things give you joy and excitement? Well, you can't do that and say, come back tomorrow and tell me what things give you joy and excitement. You need some days to think about it, because otherwise you're going to get superficial answers. You need to sit and think about it and talk to your friends. I imagine, like, I would need to sit, and I do want to go through this with that assessment with you, because I would need to sit and talk to my friends and say, okay, what do you think gives me joy? When do you see my eyes light up? And that's part of how I would imagine.
It is. In fact, one of the terms I always use is, I'm looking for the shine in your eyes.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's those times that you just light up and say, yeah, Kristen, let me tell you about this that I did last week. And I'm like, it's right there. It's right there. So we do that, talk about that a lot. The second way that I work with students, and this is brand new, I'm starting 2 classes, and I actually wrote down the date so that I could tell people about it. So one is for college students. Here's the the kicker. I have more college students as clients than I do high school students. Here's what's happening. They get into sophomore year, and it's about this time, and they go, I don't know what I'm doing, and I've changed majors 3 times.
Right,
So
and you have to declare by then, or you get in trouble. That's when
you really,
you
do. So I have one group class. I'm going to do small group classes, and they're a 6-week class. And these are for students that can manage a little bit, time manage on their own, and have maybe lived a little bit more life, that they have some thoughts on what they want to do.
Yep.
But this is really to kind of help shape that, get them introduced to strengths, get them feeling really comfortable and confident that they're making good decisions. So I'm starting that class Tuesday, January 28th, and it's going to be at 8 p.m. Central. Okay, so I want to make sure that, and then it'll run for 6 weeks. So we're going to finish right before spring break, hopefully, for most students. And if not, we'll figure out how to handle that. The second class will start Sunday, February 2nd. This is for high school students.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have high school students together in a class, and that starts February 2nd and runs through March 8th, and at 8 p.m. Central as well.
Oh, that's excellent. Now, I want to just a side note here, just to talk about. So I do all of my tutoring online. I'm live in Dallas now. I was in Austin before. I was in Dallas before that, and I do all my tutoring online. I started out doing in-person tutoring, and when I started doing online, I was a little worried that that online would somehow be like less, like it would be inferior. And weirdly, I discovered, at least with today's students, that like online is actually way better. And it took me a while to figure out that for me it was a lot better, because I don't know why the students well, partially because I could write things on a whiteboard that we share and then save it as a PDF file, and so all our notes would be saved. But also, to me, like, today's students are geared toward that. They like looking at information on a screen and at my face at the same time, and talking. Like, they want that input, and it's how they learn. And I wonder if that, like, if you found that to be the same, because I know you recently moved. So you're doing this, right, with students online. This is not something that you only do in person, right?
Correct. In fact,
Oh, okay, good.
I found the same thing, that most students prefer either Zoom or just over the phone.
Okay,
And
good.
yeah, and what I found is, number one, it saves everybody time, because the student doesn't want to come to me either, or me driving to the student. So it's really convenient for everybody. But I they're so used to technology that
Right.
this is like being in person.
And I was thinking, because especially with your course, I imagine as you get near the end, some of those last visits are probably just little check-ins that you wouldn't need a whole hour, so you wouldn't want to drive somewhere. And also, I think, parents, like, I remember when I first started, I thought it would be inferior. So I think a lot of parents our age might have that same feeling. But I think if they checked with their student, they might be like, no, the student would be like, oh my gosh, no, online would be way, way better, because
Right.
face to face, it weirdly, it doesn't work as well for the students. At least that's what I've discovered. It's interesting. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure people watching, because there might be people watching from all over the United States, and they might be worried, oh, can we do this wherever we are? Yeah, anywhere you are, you can work with either of us. And yeah, I mean, I'm Bobby Hood. I'm at bobbyhoodtestprep.com. You can literally type in Bobby Hood and then the words SAT or ACT tutoring, and you'll get my website, Bobby Hood Test Prep. I work with students all over the United States online, and always happy to even just answer questions. Like, you don't have to sign up with tutoring with me. You can ask questions. You don't have to. You can always ask me a question. We're here to help untangle things. That's what this is called, College Planning Untangled, right? And that's what we're here for, is to try to simplify things. And I think as we move forward, these first 2 episodes are just to introduce ourselves, right? And to talk about what we do. And we'd love to hear from those of you who are listening. Comment on our videos, comment on our pages, and tell us what topics you'd be really interested in, because this is for you all who are watching. Like, that's what we're excited about. And so we want to know what you want to hear about, because we're planning to do this every 2 weeks at noon, as long as people are interested. So Kristen, what else do you have that we ought to talk about?
The last thing is, you can get a hold of me at Kristin Clark Coaching on Facebook, and you can reach out to me at Kristen at KristinClark.com. I also post these on YouTube, if that's your preference to go and watch them later. And always, even if you see them on Facebook after the fact, please send, put messages in there. We would be happy to reach out to you and answer any questions that you have. And I think that's about it. We're at the end of the half hour, so I want to make sure to.
Oh, wonderful. Is that your new house I'm seeing in the background, Kristen?
It is, yes.
Oh, it's so exciting. I bet you don't want to show the rest, because there's probably just unopened boxes in the background somewhere.
Yeah, yes, there are. Actually, we got most of it done, but yeah.
Well, congratulations on your move. I'm so happy.
Awesome. All right, well then, we will see you in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Kristen. Bye-bye.